multiplying and dividing rational numbers. The rules for multiplying and dividing with positive and negative numbers is much easier than adding and subtracting. If they have the same signs, positive. Different signs, negative. That's how easy it is. So at this point, if we look at multiplication, we're going to multiply or divide as usual, and then just use our sign rule. So if we're multiplying with decimals, if we have 7 2/10 times a negative 2/10, we're just going to set it up and pretend those decimals aren't there at this point. So we're going to look at it as like we're saying 72 times 2. And then from there, we just go 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14. From there, we can then check our decimal. All right? So our decimal, we have to figure out how many decimal places are in the problem. We have 1 here, and we have 1 here. This is a total of 2. So we have to put both of those into our answer. So we go 1, 2. Our decimal goes right, that's an arrow, right there. And our answer is 1 44/100. But don't forget to check our sign. Are those the same signs or different signs? Different? So it's a negative answer. Same signs positive, different signs negative. So we have a negative 1 44/100. Our next one gets a bit more complicated, but our notes will be the most complicated problem we have with division. So this is about as tough as it gets. So when we divide, what we actually do is we set up our division symbol just like we would in elementary school. And our first number goes in the house. So we have our 23 94/100. I'm going to deal with my signs at the very end because it's just easy. Same signs positive, different signs negative. Oh, look, positive. We'll do that at the end. Or you could do it right now. And then our 10 5/10 goes on the outside. At this point, what we need to do is we need to make sure our divisor is a whole number. So we need to multiply by 10. All that does is move the decimal right over here. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So if we multiply that one by 10, we multiply this one by 10. We can have decimals in the dividend. That's fine. It just goes straight up into our quotient. So we will have a decimal there for our answer. All right. So from here, I'm going to get these swooshy marks out of the way. And then from here, we're just going to divide with what we have, and our new decimal stays right there. And we can divide as normal. So 105 goes into 2. It doesn't. 105 goes into 23. Nope. So we have to do 105 goes into 239. How many times? Well, 2. So we have 2 here. 2 times 105 could hopefully be mental math. So we get 210. We subtract. 9 minus 0 is 9. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 minus 2, nothing. All right, so from there, we bring down our 4. All right, how many times does 105 go into 294? Well, 3 is still too big because it'd be 300 and something. 15. So we're going to just multiply by 2 again. Be careful, that decimal went into our quotient. So keep in mind, we now have 2 and 2 something. We're not done yet. So 2 times 105 also gives us 210. And we subtract here. So we're going to get 4, and we're going to get an 8. Now, we still have a remainder. At this point, we can keep going. After that decimal, we can just keep adding placeholder zeros, bring it on down. So we have 840. So at this point, I know some of you are pretty good at dividing. You can also estimate and just think of our hundredths place, about how many ones goes into 8. Oh, 8. So we can try that out and see if it works. So we can check over here. We can see, okay, 105 times 8. Is that going to work? Is that going to be too big? Is that going to be too small? So we have 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 8 times 1 is 8. Oh my goodness, it's exactly what we were looking for. So we have our 8 there, and 8 times 105 gave us our 840, which gives us a remainder of 0. That was the toughest division problem you will have to do at this point. So they have the same sign, so it is positive. So that's our answer. Moving right along, down to some fractions. Multiplying fractions is pretty easy. So if we look here at C, all we have to do is multiply straight across. When we multiply, it's like we have a 1 times 2 and a 4 times 9. Now, I'm going to show you a quick way to help out with some mental math. We can simplify diagonally. So if we simplify in the beginning, we work with smaller numbers, and we don't have to simplify at the end. So if we look diagonal and we see numbers that can simplify, like 4 and 2 can both divide by 2, well, let's just divide them now. We're going to simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. From there, it's just mental math to solve it, because 1 and 9, the only common factor is 1. 1 and done. So we just multiply straight across. So we have our numerators, 1 times 1 is 1. And our denominators, 2 times 9, 18. Could you have done it the other way? Yes. Yes. This might save you some time. Those mental math students, you're going to like that. Okay, from here, our next one is pretty easy, but we can't multiply until we make this fraction improper. So I'm going to write my 3/5 to make sure I still have that. So I got my 3/5 times. To make it improper, we multiply our whole number by our denominator. 1 times 2 is 2. And then we add our numerator. That would be 3. So then we'd have 3, and we keep our denominator of 2. All right, if we check diagonally, we can't simplify. So we'll just multiply. All right, so we have 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 2 is 10. And if you notice, that fraction also cannot simplify. So you couldn't simplify at the beginning, so you most likely will not need to simplify when you're done. All right, same thing here. It looks like can't simplify diagonally at this point. Oh, did I check my signs? Oh, positive times a positive is a positive. Okay, positive times a positive is a positive. We're good. All right, so here's our first one with integers with negative numbers. So we can multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. We have 4 times 8 is 32. Same sign's positive, but these are different signs. So it's a negative 9/32. Moving right along, dividing fractions. If you can multiply fractions, you can divide fractions. The key is we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. You may have heard this a few different ways: keep, change, flip. Same idea, but I use the vocabulary word, so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. A reciprocal is a fraction that can be multiplied together to give us 1. Now, all rational numbers can be written as a fraction. So we just find whatever other number gets us to 1. And if you notice the pattern here, we just flip it. There's the keep, change, flip. That's the reciprocal. So let's look down here. And we are going to work through this one here. So we have our 1/3 stays. Our first fraction, nothing happens. Instead of division, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. 1/2 times 2 ones does give us 1. So that is the definition of reciprocal. At this point, all you need to know is that it flips it. Easy. We can multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. Our answer is 2/3. Positive signs, they're all the same. So we have a positive answer. Not so bad. Actually, most of these are. All right, next one, we have 3/4. We're going to have to do 2 things. Well, we have our 3/4. But we need to make this into an improper fraction, because we need to multiply by the reciprocal. Well, we don't quite know the reciprocal because we can't quite flip it until we have it improper. So I'm going to make it improper up here in the corner over here. So I'm going to make it improper over here. So we have 2 times 2, so our whole number, times our denominator, 4, plus our numerator, 1, which gives us 5. So we have 5 halves as our improper fraction. Our reciprocal of 5 halves, 2 fifths. All right. We can simplify diagonally. You are welcome to multiply straight across right now, but you'll have to simplify at the end. I'm going to simplify right now. 4 and 2 can both divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. 3 and 5, 1 and done. So if we multiply straight across now, we have 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 5 is 10. If you multiplied without simplifying first, you would get 6 twentieths, which does simplify to 3 tenths. So make sure your answers are always simplified. All right, this next one should be pretty easy. We have our 3/8, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So our reciprocal would be 3 halves. Oh man, nothing diagonal can simplify here. You can't simplify back at the beginning. You have to only do it when it's in the multiplication form. So we'll just multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. 8 times 2 is 16. Same signs, positive answer. Good to go. All right, our final problem here. We have some integers, some negative integers. All right, so we have our negative 1/5. We multiply by the reciprocal. Now, our reciprocal will still be negative. Why? Because again, the goal of a reciprocal is to multiply to make a positive 1. So negative times a negative would make it positive. So the sign will stay. That's fine. And we just flip the 10/3. Oh, we flip it to be 10/3. And then we continue. I see things that can simplify. Not the 1 and the 3, but the 10 and the 5 can both divide by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. From here, we can multiply straight across. So we have 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And then we have different signs. Negative times a negative gives us a positive. So 2/3 is our answer. Let me know if you have any questions.